Okay, so weekly update on the crypto markets and BTC. Let's check out where we're at and have a look at some key levels that you need to look out for on the charts in the coming week. So if you like the video, please go ahead and give it a like down below. Let's get straight into it. So essentially, we've been range bound between 46 and 52, and I expect us to continue in this range and probably below this trend line maybe for the next week or so, because we know as well that when we are below this 50 zone, we tend to be either in a downtrend or we're consolidating and moving sideways, okay? And that's where we currently are. So we still have, the RSI is still pretty low, so I would expect still some chop up and down. And then once we can kind of get above this 50 zone, then that gives us the indication that the momentum is starting to switch to the upside, but we're not quite there yet. The main areas to look out for is really going to be that 53k zone, okay? Maybe we get a push up there next week, but just be aware of this zone is 53. We've got multiple areas of resistance here. I think this is going to be strong resistance coming up. Also, the 21-day EMA is actually coming down here, which is also a momentum indicator. So that's going to coincide there. We've got this big, the main trend line really. So I would expect this to provide quite significant resistance. So don't quite expect anything to move quite straight away. Anything after that, obviously we can start challenging 60. But another thing that you want to probably pay attention to is most of the times where we have had either big drops, we do tend to retest certain areas. So like when we broke down here, we moved over and then we retested down here. Okay, here, this big move down, we got this retest of this zone over here, and obviously we got it down in that 30k region multiple times. Okay, and over here as well, you can see those. So don't be surprised if we basically come down and try to challenge this area here, okay, in that 44, lower 40 zones, and maybe try to confirm that as support and try to build up a bit of a base. My contention is that this still holds. If this does not hold, we are likely going to move down to 30k, okay? But no reason to think anything else at the moment. That's where we are, and that's essentially what I'd be looking at the moment. In terms of the BTC dominance, we are currently forming a bit of a triple bottom, which tells me that BTC is probably going to be the best crypto to hold anyway in the coming months, because if we get that move to the downside, either volatility is going to be high, you want to be holding BTC, and I do think BTC is going to lead us into that next rally when we eventually get it, okay? So that next major move, remember typically when we've sort of restarted now, we've flushed out the momentum, and that next big wave typically starts with Bitcoin. That's the main mover, and then money tends to flow down into the mid caps and the higher market cap coins, and then filters down into the system. And then you typically finish off with a lot of the garbage and the shit coins like Doge and meme, Doge and Sheeb, etc., and meme coins, and that typically tells you that probably towards the end of a big move. So yeah, you can see that as well. If you actually zoom out on the monthly chart as well, you can see that we're actually having this area of support over here. So BTC dominance, expect that to maybe start creeping up from here on and into the next few weeks. Anything below here, you're going to get some absolutely crazy altcoin season, but I definitely don't see that happening in the next few months. So that's pretty much that. I know a lot of people don't pay too much attention to CME gaps and whatnot, but typically, obviously over here, when we moved from 2020 to the start of 2021, we had this massive parabolic move up to the upside, and we did have a lot of gaps unfilled, but you have to remember that most gaps do get filled, okay? There's lots of little gaps, and probably about, like, I haven't actually done I haven't actually checked the exact percentages, but I would imagine about 80% of them do get filled. So we do currently have this big gap above us, which is also 53.5k, which coincides with that big resistance zone. So look for that to potentially be an area, another reason to give you confluence that that's a potential area where we might see some sticky resistance and pull back from there. And we're going to open up 50 here, so we're going to have a gap to the we've got this gap above us, we're going to have a gap below us, so expect that to get filled. I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, maybe we move up higher and then we come down and maybe we do retest that 42 zone. But I'm not expecting anything this month of particular note where we make this like massive parabolic move up. Not quite expecting that. But those are the key areas to watch for BTC. That 53k is the main area. And then essentially, I think we'll probably be range bound. I wouldn't be surprised for us to get this move down here into this lower 40, retest this zone, see if we can actually confirm that again as support, create a base, and then maybe break the trend line then, and then start to move higher. Okay. If we look at the DXY, which is the US dollar index, obviously we've had this massive move up. And especially in November, it's actually been surging up pretty strongly, which is it's no coincidence that when we got this big move up here in mid-November from the DXY, that we saw this big downtrend in Bitcoin, where we've got this 40% drop, and we know that this is essentially typically inversely correlated to BTC. So this gives you an indicator. We are essentially at the moment at this retesting this large trend line. So we might actually see some resistance here, maybe a push down here can help give BTC some momentum. But that's another thing to look out for. And I think so long as the stock market is like staying healthy and making new highs, I think this is a good thing for BTC. If the stock market starts to break down and we start to take out some of these lows, I expect BTC to also come off with it and follow suit. So if the S&P is doing well, BTC, I think that's good for BTC. Let's see where we can head into next week. Those are the key zones. So essentially, let me know what you think down below. If you made it to the end of the video, where do you think BTC is headed? Drop me a like. Like I said, if you can do that, that massively helps me out. And I'll catch you out in the next video. Peace out.